अस्सलाम वालेकुम नाजरीन, वेलकम बैक टू आवर शो दो मस्ताने। जैसे कि हमने ब्रेक पे जाने से पहले कहा था कि हमारे साथ आज एक स्पेशल गेस्ट हैं हु इज़ ए प्रोफेशनल फोटोग्राफर, Ramsha Javed. She's married, 3 kids, mashallah se. Born in Pakistan, raised mostly in the Middle East, Muscat, Oman, and has been living in Canada for more than half her life, I'm assuming. इन्होंने रिसेंटली एक फोटोग्राफी का स्टूडियो खोला है और जिसके हवाले से हम आज इनसे कुछ बातचीत करेंगे, टॉक अबाउट हर business obviously and her aspirations, where she wants to take it, what her goals are, a little bit about her own life, just a little quick fireside. So Ramsha, I just want to say thank you for being on our show.
Thank you for having
Yeah, it's a pleasure and honor talking to we're doing a photographer interview for the first time. Usually we get a lot of these social media personalities coming talking about social media experiences, they're influencing.
Yeah.
लेकिन पहली बार हमारे शो में एक photographer आई हैं. So really it's an honor for me personally.
Thank you so much. Honestly, the pleasure's all mine, honestly.
तो मैंने आपको छोटा सा तो तारुफ करा दिया है, but if you don't mind, talking a little bit about your personal life first, and then we'll talk about your
for
business.
sure. So, like he said, I'm Ramsha. I'm married, 3 kids, 3 very chaotic little kids in the house.
I hear you.
And I'm a professional photographer. That typical mom who loves taking pictures, clearly. And I recently opened up a photography studio. My photography business is called fiya.photography.
Right.
It's actually named after my daughters because one's named Sophia and the other one's Ayana. So Fi and Ya, it's just kind of adds together.
So F-I-Y-A?
Yes, F-I-Y-A, Fiya Photography.
Nice.
Make a wish for ones with a secret. And if I manifest best, guess I'll keep it. I'll keep it. I'm sick with the flame, you fade up phones one day. For once, those come as friends, yes, I need it. And green lights and sunshine.
But yeah, I just recently opened it up, and it's a great space for all photographers, content creators to have some sort of a creative space where they can create their own content.
Okay.
And yeah, like he said, I grew up in the Middle East. I've been in Canada for about 20-ish, 20, 30, 20, 25 years now.
तो photography का आपको कब से शौक हुआ?
I feel like this kind of is a question that I can't answer, but I also can answer.
Okay.
So bear with me.
Sure.
I feel like it all started when I was a little kid. I always was into storytelling.
Right.
And I think I've always told stories verbally, and somehow it translated into telling stories through my lens. And now when I'm holding the camera and I'm taking a picture and I'm behind the lens, I can see a story forming in front of my eyes almost. And I think that's kind of where the passion came for photography, because I was always that designated person in the family or in my friends that would be behind the lens, taking pictures and capturing moments and making these moments last, into a lifetime thing. So that was always my thing, and that was something that I really took a lot of pleasure in doing. And I think that's kind of where this happened. I started it around COVID, shortly after COVID, and this was initially very much so a creative outlet for me. It was more of a side thing.
Okay.
And then it eventually grew because I was loving it so much. It didn't feel like work, and I kind of just kept going, and now it's definitely a lot more than a side thing for sure.
Right.
But yeah, it comes from my love for being able to tell stories through just still pictures. Hence why the studio is also called Still Life Studios.
Still Life Studios.
Because it's a still picture, but somehow it's evolving, it's moving with time, in time, I guess. But yeah, that's basically where and when and why I started this.
No, that's an interesting story, and I don't know what it is, but मुझे आज तक जितने photographers मिले, especially still photographers, these days I think videography has become the bigger thing, just because it's bigger. There's movies, dramas, TV shows out there, but still photography has its own place. First of all, it's so much more special. It almost stands out on its own, on a different pedestal. Like, the point I want to make is from my own experience, and I could be wrong, maybe it's just my own observation, कि जितने भी मुझे आज तक still photographers just like you I've come across, they've always had the passion for still photography from childhood. ये नहीं, मैंने आज तक कभी ऐसा नहीं सुना कि भाई मैं जब 24-25 साल का हो गया फिर मुझे अचानक ख्याल आ गया यार तस्वीरें ले ही रहे. It's always been one of those, it's almost like I want to say you are a born still photographer. You are born with that passion. Is that how you feel?
It's interesting. Yeah, I think about it a lot. And again, being in this industry, I know a lot of people that, you know, have started their things. And some, like you said, have just kind of, you know, just like gotten into it with just, you know, in their later years. But a lot of the still photographers out there definitely are ones that feel like this is something a lot more than just photography to them. Something that's kind of inert, something they've grown up liking. So yeah, from a very young age, I think a lot of still photographers have this, you know, inbuilt feeling that they're drawn towards photography of this sort. So yeah, I do see that, and it's interesting that it works that way, I guess. Right?
It is very interesting. अच्छा ये बताइएगा कि do you have a certain specialty or a niche? Because I know even in this building that our studio's in, there's a couple of photographers and some of them have specialties. Like I know there's one, I don't want to endorse them obviously, but they do maternity photography, just taking pictures of pregnant women. तो आपकी क्या कुछ इस तरह की specialty है, or is it?
Yeah, I do. I'm primarily in the newborn maternity and family as well. Primarily newborn. I don't know if it's because I'm a mom or if I loved babies before I became a mom, but just somehow the comfort is there, and I really enjoy photographing babies.
Right.
Hence why I'm, you know, in newborn photography, and then maternity as well as family. And again, I think this all kind of connects to just me loving being around these families and getting to know their stories, and like just seeing them all kind of, you know, mingle with each other and then create that story for me that I'm obviously turning into a photograph for them. So that's primarily my niche, but I have recently also gotten into weddings and events as well. So I do a lot of birthdays, a lot of baby showers, nikahs, you know, a lot of events of that sort. And that's something where, you know, I am definitely going to be growing further as well. But currently it's newborn, maternity, and family photography for sure.
Okay, perfect. And now let's talk a little bit about your studio, your business. आपने बताया कि COVID के ज़माने में you started taking it seriously.
Yes.
But where was that turning point where you one day said, okay, you know what, I really want to turn this into something permanent, something very professional. I want to have my own studio. So tell us a little bit about that, and also the struggles, maybe the challenges you had to face to you know, put that studio up. Cost. Capital you had to invest. Maybe tell us a little bit about that.
For sure. Challenges, there were quite a few.
I can imagine.
I think with me, when this started becoming a lot more real, I want to say, and a lot more not so side businessy. That was kind of the turning point for me. And I think that happened because I started getting so much amazing feedback from like my clients, from my friends, my family. And it just made me want to keep going, and it just, I feel like somehow pushed me into taking that step and getting a studio space, because I had clients come up to me time and time again. So it just felt like this is the right thing, the next thing that I need to do, and so I did. The one biggest challenge for me before I got the studio was definitely space, because I was doing it out of my home, and again with, you know, we have to have a certain criteria that's being met with, you know, ceilings being high enough for all of your equipment and things, and I shoot primarily babies, so I needed that space for, you know, mom and dad to be comfortable, and like just to have them kind of do their thing while I'm, you know, photographing babies. So things like that, space-wise, I felt like it was compromised to quite an extent. When I got the studio, it was honestly, it just felt like it was meant to be. I did not have to set it up I didn't have to do any of like those big changes to it. It just felt like it was already set up. It was the time, and the time was right. It was meant to be.
Was it previously a studio?
It was actually like a retail, like it was like a store, but it's set up like almost like a barn. On the inside, and it's beautiful, and everybody that comes there now, like all my clients, they're in love with it because it just feels so cozy and homey. And I think as a photographer, my personal brand that I'm trying to market out is that feel. I want families to feel comfortable and safe. And I want kids to feel like they're coming home, and it shouldn't be so like cold. It's nice and warm in there, and it just felt like this was meant to be. I didn't have to do any of that, like all of the major setup and stuff for it. And it's a nice, quiet part of Milton. It's actually in Campbellville, that area. So it's beautiful. It's scenic. It's kind of on a mountain, and then there's train tracks around it. There's conservations. So it's honestly a trip, almost like a field trip when families come down to the studio, and the kids love it. So honestly, I couldn't be more blessed with the space, and it's definitely giving me, you know, the space I need to do my personal creative work. Plus, like I said, I am renting out the studio. It's fully equipped as well for other photographers, other videographers, and content creators to
so you
utilize.
rent out the space too?
Yes,
that's good. That's good.
Because as a photographer who's just started out, I remember this very like vividly still. It's just so tough to find these places where you can shoot good content.
Of course, yeah.
And then obviously with me having my space, I want to be able to give back, and then give back to the other photographers who are looking for space like that, but obviously can't have their own studio just yet.
Right.
And so this is a space for all of them to utilize as well. It's, like I said, fully equipped. You can do any kind of shoots from the studio as well.
That's good. Now, I don't want you to divulge all the financials to us. No, I'm not looking for a balance sheet. But, you know, for someone watching out there, an aspiring photographer like yourself, who's looking into maybe getting his or her own studio at some point, what sort of a minimum cost are they looking at, you know, just to get that space, get it up and running, equipment, marketing, like, you know, it could be a ballpark figure, just, you know, just for the audience.
For sure. Again, it's subjective to the kind of space and the kind of photography they're doing, whether or not they need, like for myself, I think a huge investment goes towards like props and, you know, swaddles and such for babies. And a lot of the types of shoots don't require that or will require more. So just to give you a rough idea, I think with just the studio rent and everything, a month's cost is somewhere around like $2,000 to $3,000 for sure. And then additionally, I guess if you have your other expenses, like if you're driving around a lot, commute can really add up. If you're just doing it out of your studio, then I think it's usually a lot of the other things like your lighting, your cameras, all of your equipment, things like that.
One-time fixed
those are
costs.
Things that honestly are getting you more business anyways in the long run, because if you invest in good equipment, then you're definitely giving out a better product to your clients, right?
And that becomes an asset of your company, right?
It's just the tools you need to work technically. But yeah, aside from that, I think around the $2,000 to $3,000 per month rental situation is definitely a fixed cost that you have to be open to, you know, be paying off per month.
Sahi.
Yeah.
Acha, now that you have got your own studio, it's all set up, it's up and running, where do you see this, because it's a business, you've invested a lot of time, money, effort into it, it's going well for you. Where do you see it going in the next 3 to 5 years? Do you want this to be you know, just a stagnant income generating business, or do you see it growing into, I don't know, a franchise, or what are your thoughts?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, you aim high, right?
Exactly.
So I think I definitely want it to be, aside from my personal business as a photographer and the services I provide, I definitely want the studio and the rental side of things to really take off for sure. Ideally, I want to be able to have more locations so that it's, you know, accessible to all sorts of maybe like in Ontario, for example, to have all of the cities kind of have access to it. I do intend on, I guess, in the next couple of years, start some sort of a learning platform along with, you know, the services I offer. So,
or you can teach.
So a lot of these studios that are currently existing, they do also run workshops from their studios, or like they host events there, and that way it's a good way for other photographers to also kind of learn about you in the industry, and plus they can also promote their own personal services as well. So just running a lot of learning workshops and just being able to, I guess, just offer more to my clients. Otherwise, I think that's really where I'm seeing myself in the 3 to 5 years from now. I always think about this, honestly, this is all good. It's all the professional side of me, but the personal side of me in the next 3 to 5 years, I think I still want to be able to love what I do.
Absolutely.
And I still want to have that passion that makes work not feel like work.
Exactly.
Because that's currently the state of mind I'm in. And like, alhamdulillah for that. And it just feels like if this is the one constant that I have even 5 years down the line, then I mean, I've made it, kind of thing.
You have, yeah.
But yeah, that's like always that side of me, because I cannot tell you enough how amazing it is to have clients come back to me, moms that I've seen pregnant that have now 3-year-olds, for example, and they've literally celebrated all of their milestones with me.
Right.
And that's I feel like more of the fulfilling part of this business than obviously the other. But yeah, I guess the two, that's definitely where I'm seeing myself in the next 3 to 5 years for sure.
And do you think, would you want your kids to maybe
very
follow
much
into
so.
your footsteps?
I honestly am not gonna lie. I think both my girls, they're very, very into like photography.
Oh, nice,
and I definitely see my oldest, the 6-year-old, because she's always asking me about work and like what it is that mama does. And so I see her kind of also, drifting along that direction. The more knowledge I give her, the more she takes in. And I see that she's very, very interested in it for sure. So that would be cool, honestly, if even one of them wants to do what mom does.
You talked about passion, and I think if the kids see that passion and obviously see the fruit that's coming out of it, it's contagious. So it will become one of them at least, or maybe all three of them. You have 3 kids, you mentioned, right? All three of them will run your business for the next, inshallah, for 50, 60 years.
Yeah.
Perfect. चलें, ये तो थोड़ी बातें आपके business की हो गई. I'll ask you a few, personal questions too, if you don't mind. But before that, if you don't mind just giving out your social media handles and saying them out on camera.
For sure.
We'll try to put a ticker as well of your website. So, but if you don't mind saying it.
Yeah, for sure. So the studio is actually called Still Life Studios. It's on Instagram, I believe it's called Still Life by FYP. That's Fiya Photography. And then my photography page, it's called fiya.photographyofficial at Instagram. So those are the 2 handles.
And
again,
you mentioned your website too, right?
Yes, and the website goes by the same name, fiya.photography.com.
Okay. Even though I think, websites are still good, but social media is slowly taking over.
Especially in this world of like visual everything, really. It's easier to get that message across, I guess, on Instagram or TikTok.
Perfect. Well, thank you for that. And maybe in the end, just to do a little bit of a personal encounter with you as Ramsha. अगर आप photographer नहीं होती, what do you think you would have been?
Well, I was a biotechnologist before I got in this. Yes. So I would definitely be pursuing that. The reason why I kind of took a break from it.
So you have a degree in biotechnology?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, industrial microbiology. I used to run my own research and everything. But I think with, when I started first having kids and like growing a family.
Right.
I realized that it wasn't really a very, I want to say, family-friendly field of work at the time, of course. But honestly, when your kids are older, who's stopping you, kind of thing. But at the time, I felt like this was like the right time to not, and then kind of pursue other careers and see what else is out there for me. But yeah, I mean, if I weren't a photographer, I would definitely still be a biotechnologist.
Wow.
Yeah, industrial. And I still love it. I'm a huge science nerd, you guys. I'm a huge science nerd. So
well, we've also never had a biotechnologist on our show, so that's another first.
That's, two birds.
क्या कहते हैं वहाँ 2 birds with 1 stone? या एक तीर से 2 शिकार. But no, thank you for being here, Ramsha, once again. I cannot thank you enough. If you want to say a few last words to people, not just looking into becoming photographers, but I'm sitting here with you for the last 15-20 minutes, and you also mentioned passion, and I can feel it. I can feel the vibrations of passion. So anyone who's looking to start, whether it's a business or a career, what words of wisdom can you offer?
Honestly, I think start. That's really like my biggest advice to you, to anybody that's watching. And I'm hoping somebody can kind of, get even 1% of help out of this talk we've had.
Yeah.
Starting is the hardest thing you can do, but also it's like 99% of the job done, in my personal opinion.
Yeah.
I think when we're about to start something, there's just so much around it that stops us from doing the actual starting part of the process. But once you kind of, see past those little disturbances and just get into it and just get started, you only look forward from then onwards, and you don't really think about the disturbance that's around. So definitely just go for it and start, and then you can kind of calculate and, overthink and all of that, because starting is really the hardest part.
You're
of
absolutely,
anything.
you're bang on, and I think every journey starts with that first step. Agar wo aap nahi lenge, just like I think there's a famous saying by a Canadian hockey player, Wayne Gretzky. He used to say that you miss 100% of every shot you don't take.
Exactly.
So take that shot, and then leave it to faith, to God. जो इंसान के नसीब में लिखा है वो हर हाल में मिलेगा, but you have to make that effort. God only helps those who help
make
themselves.
That. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Ramsha,
awesome.
for being here. That was a lovely chat.
Likewise.
And I really enjoyed knowing you as a person and also as a professional photographer. And I wish you all the best with the business. We're going to put your information on the screen. And hopefully people watching you'll get something in return, inshallah.
For sure. Thank you so much for having me. Honestly, like I said, this is I think it's more of my pleasure than it is for you. I'm honored to be here and to have this chat with you, and getting to know you again is a great experience. Thank you so much.
Thank you.